Hello and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy podcast. My name is Jed, and we are in the Philosophical Midwifery book this morning, and we are having a look at Subject B, the last 10 minutes of his Philosophical Midwifery talk. So, let's jump right in. We've reviewed the beginning of his talk several times, which has been good because it's given us an opportunity to apply our new understanding of the structure, the specific structure involved within philosophical midwifery, which is the greatest art, because it's the art of how to encourage self-reflection through logos, which allows for the removal of the false beliefs that cause human problems. It's also the same understanding or dialectic, dianoia is the fancy word for understanding, that can be used to then be applied to philosophy or the truth of self and reality, or the true nature of love, once we've removed all of the false beliefs about those things. Isn't that interesting? We're stuck in patterns pursuing false ideas of beauty, false ideas of love, false ideas of self, false ideas of what it means to be knowing or strong or a good person. That's the human condition. So we begin as kind of NPC or zombies. But through this, the greatest art, the most important art any human being can participate in and learn while they're here on this planet, but any species, any planet, any time, the most important thing is this: it removes the problems. Prevents our injustice from continuing, repeating cycles of negativity and suffering and all that sort of stuff. This is the art. But also, it frees us to then take part in the next or higher part of midwifery philosophy. Because you could say that, well, the act of philosophical midwifery, guiding people through self-reflections on what's most important to them through the structure of the dialectic, is exactly what happens in philosophy. That's the art of the dialectician, which leads to the conclusion of chapter 4, that people who go through this process fully or complete the process end up discovering the higher aspects of the same art and realize our goals are intrapersonal. Once we're able to reach what we consider our most important individual goals, we realize, oh, our highest, most important goals transcends individual self. Therefore, leading into philosophy, the study of being, which transcends individuals because it's a realm of mind itself, the principles and cause for our physical world, and then even beyond that, to the self. So that's the wonderful conclusions and wonderful success we can get at the end of this, the greatest art. So let's jump into reviewing some human being going through this art. Here's the book. Cheers. I hope you have your coffee. If you drink coffee. Let's jump into the change in scene. So the first part, he's been discussing his interaction with his dad, fixing a lawnmower that was a trap, and allowed dad to play out his kind of tyranny. So there was a sort of crushing of the self and the self's goals that we all have. It's part of being human. Because as we are having fun and achieving excellence and being ourselves and discovering our own understanding, that has to be squashed for loyalty to belief. To give up your own independence and being your own leader to accept the leadership from somebody else. Otherwise, why believe their bullcrap? It's a universal human thing. It's not a personal thing. Everyone's parental figures has do it to their child at some stage. Even the author of this book, even perhaps the greatest person ever. It's not a personal thing, but it happens. So, situations like that play out. And by the way, they play out in our lives too, encouraging us to reflect on our own origin scenes. When did we give up our independence? When did we give up our critical thinking? When did we give up our love of understanding and our development into understanding to reach our self goals? To blindly go along with some tyrant. So, when realizing that the whole scene was a trap and his father was lying about what's good for him and what he's doing and what he's able to do, he, hey, hello, welcome, Sas, all of the lovely dancing emojis. How are you today? How's your world? When asked what would happen if he, how am I doing this morning? I am excited to do some midwifery. We have been going through the Jesus and Socrates, A Dialogue in Heaven book because it's amazing. But this morning I thought, oh, you know what? It's spinning. I miss some midwifery. I need to get some midwifery in there. In the other book that we're reading on this channel, Soc and JC, A Dialogue in Heaven, they're addressing the idea of, well, first of all, they're addressing what prevents us from moving from belief-based thinking, caveman thinking, savage thinking, irrational thinking, unjust thinking, into understanding-based thinking. Is it just a divine luminosity experience, or is there more needed? But the main focus of the conversation between those two guys is, what are the different ways human beings respond to truth? Because both Jesus and Socrates think that they have shared some important information, some understanding, something rational. But no one has been able to give a good account of either of them. People interpret or change the meaning in various different ways, from Paul, who completely throws out everything Jesus says and just makes up his own trash. That's the opposite of what Jesus said. To maybe Mark, who focuses more on understanding rather than belief. To John, who tries to save Paul and mix the two together. And of course, Socrates. We murdered Socrates for telling the truth. The most important truth. A gift from the gods, he said he was. So why is our reaction as human beings so negative to what is most beneficial, what's most in our best interests? And can we find a list of all of the possible ways human beings respond to new truth? Maybe it's the ego, or the self-image, our pathologos self-image we identify with. That's what we would call the ego. Causes resistance to allowing us to accept different beliefs and ideologies. We want to go, see, that's the thing. The challenge that we have is in this book and in that book and in the Is It All Relative book that they're having a discussion over coffee about, is everything relative? Is it about beliefs? Or is our job here to completely drop beliefs and move into a different way of making sense of the world, understanding. It's not beliefs. It's not from other people like beliefs are. It's not something you can't prove for yourself. It's not something that isn't logical. Understanding is rational. Understanding you can verify in knowledge. Understanding isn't from other people like beliefs. Understanding everybody can share in. Understanding is the dialectic. Understanding is what removes problems. And problems are caused by our allegiance to beliefs. So why do we care about beliefs so much when understanding is on the table? Most people don't challenge things unless it puts them into predicaments, discomfort, until they question it. So maybe there's a hidden justice behind the problems we face in life because it reflects what we are here to examine. Specifically, what beliefs are we carrying? If understanding, and then even beyond that, knowledge and wisdom is much, much better than stupid fucking beliefs. Believing someone else, believing some other dude who doesn't know and has problems. Why do we care about beliefs? Why are people precious about beliefs? Why do we have to tolerate racist beliefs? Why do we have to tolerate harmful religious beliefs? Why do we have to tolerate fascist beliefs from the right wing? Why do we care about beliefs if understanding is way, way better? And if beliefs are the cause of our problems and suffering? Unless you have money, you have plot armor. Yes, that's an issue, isn't it? What would it take someone like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or Donald Trump to do their job here, reflect on their beliefs from childhood, realize that they are wrong, philosophical ignorance, and then go through the process of then developing right opinions by learning to read in the way we do here, looking for puzzles, looking for lists, organizing them hierarchically, seeing how they must be so rationally and beautifully, which we call understanding, and then verifying that understanding in direct experience or knowledge. What would it take rich people to turn around in that way? No natural consequence for growth, exactly. Stakes, which is why in this game, you have to be seeking your most meaningful goals. People who come, oh yeah, let's hear about this midwifery. The answer is no. Unless, of course, you're genuine. How can you surface the blocks to your meaningful goals, which we need to examine to discover the hidden beliefs that cause the blocks, if you're not surfacing said blocks by pursuing your highest goals with excellence? Our beliefs shape our thoughts, feelings, and behavior. Yes, they do. There's a consequence to beliefs. So saying, hey, there's no negative things that happen if we just accept all beliefs, accept all religion, accept all cults, accept all political beliefs. Unless we think and feel and act through our beliefs. In which case, that's the thing we have to do the most. So no talks of religion and politics at the table. No, only talk about religion and politics at the table, because those are the professions that we allow beliefs to function instead of understanding and knowledge. Can't be a mechanic without understanding of a car. Can't be a surgeon without understanding of surgery. You can be a cult leader or a religious figure or a pope or a president or a king without understanding. And that's what's causing all of our suffering and our injustice in our world. Natural consequences are same as punishment. No, aren't the same. Yes, exactly. They're not the same as punishment. Right. Punishment is the idea that learning can happen. And what's learning? Learning is reflecting on the root cause of problems, belief, and providing the condition to apply understanding and critical thinking to those beliefs to understand why we made the mistake in the first place, and why it was necessary that we made mistake, and why, being the sort of soul that we are, going through many lives of development, we had to have that problem. Problems are not for guilt or shame. You needed to have the problem to learn what you're here to learn. And given all of the forces on your soul leading up into this reincarnation, you would always have had this problem. So punishing someone for exactly what they should be doing, what they necessarily had to have been doing, is cruel. So the idea of punishment is a lie that tyrants use to justify inflicting suffering because they are stuck in their beliefs. You can't have understanding and punishment because you can't understand punishment. You can have a belief because beliefs are false. Beliefs are wrong. Beliefs are bad. Beliefs bad. Understanding good. That's the bumper stickers that we sell. Consequences can be positive or negative. If you don't take care of health, natural consequences of having health problems. So do take care of health. If you do take care of health, natural consequences. Muscles. Big tough pose. I wish more people catered to natural consequences over punishment. Created the conditions for self-reflection over what's happening in our lives. So every problem turns into a puzzle. Not a problem, a puzzle. That's philosophical midwifery. What you're saying is, I wish more people learnt philosophical midwifery and heard about philosophical midwifery, the greatest art, because it's specifically how we learn. Not humiliation. Yes, that's just sadistic. That's just trying to humiliate or bully or crush another person is exactly one of those problems that person should be looking at. Oh, I don't like being bullied. Why do you bully? I don't like being humiliated. Why do you think that's a good way of being? You can't have learnt it through understanding. You must be copying it from someone. You must have unquestionably accepted the idea that hurting people or making people feel bad about themselves is good, because it's not. You can't rationally teach that, so you must be copying your own parents when you were too young or it felt too dangerous to question them. So if you're doing this, your job is to reflect on your earliest teachers and challenge them, because you're being a savage. And that's where human beings are. We're in the middle of our savage natural roots, moving into being intelligible, between the gods and nature. Because it weakened their ego. Right, so we talk about the self-image instead of ego, because ego is used in a lot of different ways, but I know what you mean. People identify with the self-image they get as a consequence of the beliefs from being crushed in some way by their parents in an early scene. So our parents act unjustly towards us when we're young, everyone. And we have an option. We could either challenge them, or because of the fact that we're dependent on them and we're young, we are what this guy says, we swallow their shit. That's his expression that we're reading. In other words, they are acting in an unjust way and we take the blame. So we walk away with a false belief about ourselves, not being good enough, being inadequate, being bad. And because we didn't put it into words, which would be needed for teaching, anyone who says, shut up, don't ask questions, don't talk back, that's tyranny. That's the pathologos-based learning. Don't listen to it. Always speak up. Always ask questions. Use your voice. Because we didn't then, we don't know what that belief is. We don't know what our false belief that's causing our problems is. But we identify with it because our beliefs shapes our image thinking. That's the divided line. So we have an image about what we are. It's not really who we are. We're here to discover who we are. But we have an image about ourselves shaped by that belief. which was us taking the blame for an injustice someone we love did to us. But it's a sick idea of love. That's not real love. It is the only idea of love for most people, unless they go through philosophical midwifery. So, the natural consequence is you seek that kind of love, you treat people in that way, and you hope to find someone who matches your parents, matches their injustice, matches their pathologos beliefs. So you can revel in the injustice of playing out your pathologos beliefs of love on each other. Maybe switching roles sometimes. It's a sick idea of love. Therefore, midwifery also not just helps us to turn problems into puzzles, it helps us replace a sick idea of love into a wonderful idea of love. In fact, an idea of love that can propel us, move us through all of the different stages of cognitive development into enlightenment. Direct apprehension of beauty itself as the truth of reality and truth. That's what we reviewed yesterday in the Jesus and Socrates book. That's Socrates. That's how Socrates was explaining philosophical love. And that's why we read the Symposium. The Symposium does guide you through. By the way, you have to be doing midwifery to free your sick ideas of love. But Diotima, Socrates' female teacher, guided Socrates through different levels of love to perceive different levels of beauty, which matched different cognitive functions, leading to enlightenment or seeing reality itself, eternity, beauty, justice itself. But then that's not enough, because that's what it is from that experience that we can apply more understanding and cultivate true excellence, says Socrates in the Symposium. Another reason why midwifery is so important. Drug addiction is rooted in guilt. Yeah, well, we talk. I think we could get into talking about addiction in this book. Would we be addicted to what we believe is our highest good? Do we feel like we're entitled to our highest good and highest happiness? So if we have a belief, it's good. Does that become an addiction? Therefore, midwifery, to uncover the root cause of why you think this is good, and this is your limit. Hey, no further in this house. None of this thinking in our house. You're a good Catholic. You're a good Protestant. You're a good Jew. You don't ask questions. This is as far as you go. You can't match Jesus. You can't go beyond Jesus. That's heresy. Not in my house. If that's your highest limit, if that's as far as you can go, claiming to speak for God like our parents do, then are we addicted to playing out that role to other people? In which case, to remove addiction, would we need to reflect on the cause of that belief, but also use that freedom to experience higher goods and higher pleasures than whatever it is we're addicted to? Because that experience of beauty itself is goodness, and it's experienced as bliss. We need a safe place to learn and make mistakes. It's a great definition of philosophical midwifery. Creating the ideal conditions for reflecting on that scene that we didn't have when we were stuck in that house. And the more people see the significance of philosophical midwifery, the more we can create a world based on this way of being. We can have it in schools. Every single student does it before morning tea in the morning. Every politician or spiritual leader goes through midwifery first thing. Broadcast on YouTube and CNN or C-SPAN. Because if this is the most important activity, we must demand it from anybody in positions of authority. And it is creating a safe space for reflection. How many politicians are interested in reflection? Bupkis. Why? Because if you make a mistake, then the thugs can say, I made a mistake. Now I can be a bully to you. I can call you woke. I can get you fired. I can get you cancelled. That's not a safe space for reflection. Midwifery is. Because one of the fundamental principles as well, is no blame, no shame, no punishment. It's not a blame game. Shame teaches us what to do and is not the same as guilt. Shame, I did something wrong. Guilt is, I am wrong. We don't need shame either. If we can understand that the problems we had to have, given all of the forces and conditions of our soul up until now. We don't have the pathologos. The pathologos, the fundamental false belief that we're identified with and attached to, it has us. That's why we call it a zombie virus. It's a parasite. I hate concepts of good and bad, evil and good. Yep. Oh, wait a minute. Good and bad is different from evil, right? Like you can eat a bad sandwich if the sandwich wasn't wholesome, but you wouldn't say the sandwich is evil. How is bad different from evil? Is evil some supernatural force that seeks to do bad, seeks to enjoy the suffering of other people, doesn't want to engage with reason, doesn't want to become good? Is that different from bad, or simply missing the mark, not reaching good? You can act in bad ways, but that does make you evil. If the reason we act in bad ways is a universal human principle called the pathologos, fundamental false beliefs, is that a better way of understanding bad actions than saying, oh, you're bad because the devil made you do it, and therefore we have to genocide you and your people? You can't justify genocide or punishment or violence or oppression without the idea of evil, which is baby-brained thinking. There's a problem? Oh, there's a problem with your toaster? Well, let's understand the cause of the problem and fix it. Fair enough. You don't genocide all toasters. You don't put your toaster in a cage, in a prison cell, and beat the toaster every morning. No, that would be stupid. If you did that to your toaster, people would think you're crazy, and they would be right. So why do we treat people that way? If it's good enough for toasters, isn't it good enough for human beings? Aren't human beings more important than toasters? Oh, one reason why we treat people worse than toasters is the idea of evil. A false belief that there is a sinister, supernatural force that doesn't want either good and doesn't want understanding and just wants to hurt everyone. That's why Netanyahu keeps saying Hamas, they're evil. Oh, they say death to America, that makes them evil, right guys? So we can starve the children to death? Right, and then take all their land and resources? Right guys? No, you liar. You evil liar. There's no such thing as evil. If there's a mistake, you fix the mistake. Oh, there's Hamas? Okay, what's the cause of Hamas? Hamas. Oh, you've kept people in a giant open-air prison for decades, and you've been torturing and murdering them for decades, and you've been oppressing them because you're a tyrant, a sick fascist tyrant. Oh, well then let's address the cause. Oh, you don't want to address the cause because you're addicted to that injustice, because you're not doing philosophical midwifery. Oh, well, if you don't want to fix the problem, you can lie and claim there's something called evil and then just apply it to everyone you don't like to manufacture consent for your injustice and your oppression and your violence and your genocide. But that's irrational. Evil is belief-based. Bullshit. Good and bad, we can judge through understanding. Is it bad to genocide children? Yeah. Is belief-based thinking bad? Absolutely. Is understanding-based thinking good? Can everyone do understanding? Yeah, everyone can. You don't have to kill anybody. So through understanding, bad things can become good. But how do you make evil into good? Can't. It's evil in nature. So anyone who says you are a bad person in your nature is stuck in their ignorant beliefs. You strongly dislike good and bad. What do you like about good and bad? I mean, wouldn't you want a good sandwich? Do you appreciate good people? Do you dislike bad people? Vindictive narcissism. Interesting. When someone punishes, yes, they are playing out the same pathologos role that was inflicted upon them. That's the thing. Not only is philosophical midwifery every human responsibility because it removes our own suffering, our own problems, our own repeated cycles of being stuck in the same blocks and not being able to reach our goals. Makes us happier, allows us to be free to reach our highest excellence and bliss. But also, midwifery is a responsibility for all human beings because it addresses the cause of our injustice to others. So when somebody thinks that it's good to punish people or genocide the evil savages, they are playing out their parental figure's role. Like the bully at the gym the other day. He's copying his dad. That's it. Because he hasn't learned philosophical midwifery. In part because we don't have a culture based on the new way of being that needs to be the new way of being of the new age, a love of understanding. You can't participate in understanding without removing beliefs. They're two cognitive functions. Our evolution is from belief-based thinking into understanding-based thinking. So where do we get beliefs? Beliefs are from other people. You believe your parents, you believe your teacher, you believe the king, you believe the priest, you believe the rabbi, you believe the imam, you believe the cult leaders and the tyrants. MAGA blindly believes Trump. It's stupid. It's baby-brained. It's not baby-brained, it's caveman-brained. Because we can say that, well, before we had language, before we could participate in reason, the early human beings, animals, that blindly obeyed tribe leader happened to be the ones that survived because they didn't go venture out of the cave in exploration and get eaten by saber-toothed tigers. So belief-based thinking might have served a purpose in our early evolution, but it no longer serves a purpose, it's only a hindrance. Because it's beliefs that justify injustice, like punishment. Narcissistic personality disorder who displays a heightened tendency towards vengeful and retaliatory behaviors when their ego feels threatened. So what we're doing is that's modern psychology talk. And the problem with modern psychology is, well, we got that in chapter 1. The guy who's thinking modern psychology is primarily based on, Albert Ellis, cognitive emotive behavioral therapy, met Pierre Grimes and they met for coffee in Greenwich Village, I think. Was it that one? Anyway, they talked and Pierre said, hey, by the way, you don't have a model. Modern psychology is a new discipline. And it lacks a model. It doesn't have a paradigm. So what it's done is it's borrowed the medical model. That's designed to look at physical illness. So terms like I have a mental illness, or I have narcissistic personality disorder, or any of that stuff, that's people trying to make sense of problems caused by belief-based thinking, which is a cognitive thing, using a physical medical model. So you go to a psychologist and they will diagnose you the same way a doctor would diagnose you. You have cancer, you have pancreatitis, you have ADHD, you have narcissistic personality disorder, you have autism. Now, we're not blaming anyone for thinking that way. That's how we're taught. But it's important to recognize that's a borrowed model from a tradition, from a subject, from a system that doesn't apply to human problems. Because human problems are cognitive. That's why the new way of being has to be philodainoia, love of understanding. That includes understanding that our movement is from belief-based thinking, which manifests in all the different ways, even manifests physically, into understanding-based thinking. So instead of ego, we say pathologos self-image, an image of ourselves that we think is ourselves. Generated, maintained, molded by pathologos beliefs, which we don't have because we're sick and we're broken and we've got a disease. No, every human being has it. Every single human being has it. So if we use the medical model, which we currently use in psychology, you would have to give a form of sickness to everyone. Therefore, you're left concluding human beings are all sick, which can justify all sorts of crazy apocalyptic nonsense. If we're all sick, then human beings are a cancer. We should kill all human beings, says many billionaires and says many religious fanatics, many Christians in the tradition of Paul. That's Paul's beliefs. Modern Christianity is based on Paul. Paul says we should blow up the world so Jesus comes back. And if we use a medical model, understand human problems as sickness, then you're left concluding we're all sick. Because the truth is, we're not all sick. We're all in a process of evolutionary development from belief-based thinking to understanding-based thinking. Cognitive movement. We're not evolving wings and flying. That's not our next step of evolution. The most evolved part of us is our ability to reason. That's what distinguishes us from animals and bugs and cows. So therefore, the continuation of evolution is a continuation of that highest aspect of evolution, thinking. How do we reason? How do we make sense of the world? Therefore, to actually solve problems, to solve mental illness, illness, not an illness, that's the medical model. Puzzle. What's the difference between an illness and a puzzle? Is it the same as the difference between evil and bad? If it's an illness, it's just innately evil. You can't reason with an illness. You cut it out. You chop out that cancer. You can't reason your way out of a medical autism or ADHD or something like that. You just have to live with it. Take some drugs. But if you've gone from mental illness to mental puzzle, then you're introducing a few different ideas. You're introducing the idea that we are not all innately evil and therefore a cancer, which is a pathologos, a false negative belief about self. You're introducing the ideas that problems are rational. This is what Pierre said to Albert Ellis, who developed cognitive behavioral therapy. Hey, stop lying and saying problems are behavioral or emotive. It's just cognitive therapy. That's it. Change the name, cognitive therapy. Why? Because problems are understandable. That's what we're learning in this book. We're learning the new paradigm for understanding human problems. The only form of therapy that's been empirically verified because it's true. It works. Which is neat because you don't have to believe it. You understand it, you do it, and you verify it for yourself because it works. Which is itself a movement from image thinking caused by belief-based thinking, self-image instead of ego, self-image, generated by pathologos beliefs instead of generated by a mental illness. Through the application of this, the greatest art, the most important art and the responsibility for all human beings, philosophical midwifery, careful, reasoned, friendly, safe, fun, self-reflection, following a paradigm, not the medical paradigm, understanding paradigm, the dialectic, to understand the cause of your problems, to understand the root belief by solving the puzzle.
But this is probably the stupid, that's where you live. In the weird, and I find that very entertaining.
Very entertaining. Very fun. And in solving the puzzle, you're free to then continue developing understanding. Now that you're free of the false belief about reality, the false belief about love, the false belief about self, through the understanding, through the dialectic, now free from what caused your problems and your injustice to others, you can now ask the question, well, what is reality? What is love? What is self? How do I know? Because formerly we were told, just believe mummy and daddy, just believe the priest, just believe Netanyahu, just believe Trump, just believe the king. Now that we see that belief is stupid and the cause of our problems, how do we find out the true nature of love, the true nature of self, the true nature of reality? Well, good news, that process you've been going through to remove belief-based caveman thinking, savage thinking, that process you've been going through, that's understanding. So not only are you free of your problems using this new paradigm for understanding human problems, you've got in your back pocket a new skill that you can now use to actually get the true answers. Formerly, that's philosophy. The application of the dialectic or understanding-based cognition, understanding-based thinking, to the highest aspects of truth, reality, self, and love. Oh, welcome follower. See how that's different? See how the different between the, I hope you enjoy the channel. I hope you find something to get really curious about. See how the difference between evil and bad, evil is just always wrong and will never be wrong. And you can't reason with it. And you just have to blow it up. Bomb all the children. Yes, kill all the heathens. Remove all the infidels. Destroy all the goyim. Every religious tradition, because it's belief-based, has its word for everyone not in the family. Heathens, heretics, goyim, infidel. Non-Americans or terrorists. Non-Zionists, Hamas. In slavery against the black population of America. Savages. Genocide against the Jewish people in Nazi Germany. Vermin. Taking the real cause of human problems, beliefs that everyone has, it's universal. Therefore, it's a principle for everyone. You can't pick teams. It will bring humanity together. Therefore, is the new way of being for the new age. understanding the root cause of problems. What do you know? It's the same for everyone. Belief-based thinking. Therefore, creating the most ideal conditions for systematic self-reflection on the root cause of our problems, early childhood beliefs called pathologos. Therefore, what's the ideal conditions for that? Oh, everyone has a house to live in. Everyone, all of the resources and technology used and shared equally among everyone to rationally, sustainably, and renewably meet all human needs so we can spend our time doing what we're here to do. Evolve. Evolve from what? Grow wings? No. Not physical evolution, cognitive evolution, psychic evolution. From belief-based thinking to understanding-based thinking. That's a shift from a physical, medical model, modernism, a way of making sense based on Aristotle, not Socrates. We killed Socrates, and his interpreters who speak for philosophy today, the modern philosophers, are listening to Aristotle. Aristotle screwed up everything. He completely got it wrong. He was kicked out of the academy. That's how wrong he was. He was a materialist. He got rid of understanding. He got rid of the mind. Why? Because the fundamental cause of our allegiance to belief-based thinking that prevents our movement into understanding, which solves problems and unites everyone, is a fear of mind. So what do you know? Even Aristotle, someone who Plato called the brain, very, very clever, still had a pathologos. What do you know? Because pathologos is a human thing. And Aristotle, from what I understand, was a human being, so had a pathologos. Therefore, fear of the mind, fear of the intelligible realm of pure being, which is an eternal thing. It's not in time and space. That's the physical realm that we see with our physical senses. The fear of that realm and the fear of rationally understanding that realm is what drives us away from the light of pure being into allegiance with safe, familiar, family, clan-based, belief-based ignorance and savagery. So, we're reclaiming Socrates from Aristotle. We're reclaiming a true model of understanding from the medical model of modern psychology, which is from Aristotle. So instead of seeing problems as good versus evil, fighting it out on the battleground, onward Christian soldiers marching as to war, blow them up and let God sort them out. That's what I say. From that savagery, from our early evolution, and to realizing, every human being makes mistakes. You don't use a mistake as an excuse to beat a child when you teach math. You got the equation wrong. Now you used to. Oh, fucking hey, you used to. Teachers used to become teachers in my father's generation, not very long ago, the boomer generation. They would look for students making mistakes as an excuse to torture them because they were sadists. Oh yeah. But we know that's wrong, and we've changed. You don't beat children for getting the math equation wrong. Ever. Why? Oh, because human problems are not because the child is bad and you need to beat the fear of God into them. No. We missed the mark because we have yet to understand. So you have to create the ideal conditions for understanding. That's what good teaching is. The paradigm for that is philosophical midwifery. Now we have 3 reasons why it's the responsibility of every human being to master the art of philosophical midwifery. The first one, you remove your own problems and suffering to reach your goals. Number 2, you remove the cause of your injustice to others, your addiction to hurting others in a similar way that you will hurt yourself. And 3, it's a necessary model for teaching and healing. So if you're a teacher, or you're someone who wants to heal the world or heal people that you care about, midwifery. Good questions. I don't like the concepts of narcissism. I think it damaged ego. Yeah, okay, so we're replacing ego with self-image, or pathologos self-image. carry some extent, we all carry narcissism to protect our ego. Right, so the fear of using our mind, the fear of addressing problems rationally is one of the things that keeps us tied to our false image or our ego, because that image you have of yourself isn't yourself. That's why when people go through philosophical midwifery, they realize that our self is intrapersonal, suprapersonal. It's not an individual self. We are all one self, which was what we read of Mark in our Jesus and Socrates book yesterday. Mark says, Mark's idea of love is to recognize all people as oneself. Also, mind. Mind is universal. You see how these principles can bring together our whole species? If we are all one self, if we all share in the same mind, if that pure mind is an experience, you don't have to believe anyone, you just have it as an experience, that's wisdom or knowledge. And if from that, the intelligibility of the experience of reality, if that's where understanding comes from, then we can all understand. You can't have Nazis and Jews. They are incommensurate, they are incompatible, because they're both bad beliefs. You can have understanding. Everyone can understand. Everyone has mind. Everyone is the self. Everyone has the same basic humans and needs. So do we have to protect our self-image? Now we have to protect the care for ourselves. Anyone who says, you're not good enough, you can't understand, just believe me because I'm a bully like my dad. What, the guy at the gym? That guy. Yeah, you protect yourself against that injustice by saying, oh, you're in ignorance. That's not good. That's not just. That's your dad. Probably. Who are you copying? Because it was wrong when it did it to you. It's wrong when you're doing it to other people. Wake up. Question your earliest teachers, because treating people like garbage is fundamentally ignorant. Not evil. Not an excuse to genocide your people. You're just merely copying what you learnt from childhood. So this belief-based cognition we call caveman think because it's served an evolutionary purpose before we had reason, but it no longer meets our needs. So there's no need to blame it. It's a solution that no longer works. There are no problems, only solutions that no longer apply. Similarly, individually, as individuals, our individual pathologos belief about ourselves served a purpose in our early survival growing up stuck in that house in a world that doesn't have philosophical midwifery as the new way of being, which it needs to. That's our next stage of evolution, because it solves problems. And you know what? Problems can play out with nuclear weapons now, so we either develop this new way of being or we go extinct. But because we don't have that world, yeah, children are more inclined to develop a false image of themselves to save their loved ones. Oh, mummy and daddy love me. They can't be wrong when they crushed me. It must be my fault. A fundamental problem with my way of being. And what we're seeing in our review, we're seeing subject B recognizing that. Hey, if my dad caused the problem with the lawnmower, and instead of admitting to his mistake, he blamed me, then my whole way of being is wrong, because I did fix the lawnmower. I did a beautiful job. But if to me it looks like I fixed the lawnmower and he's saying it's bad, then my whole way of thinking is fundamentally wrong. I'm not seeing reality. And I love doing it, that means my love is wrong. My ability is wrong. I think I can do it. Oh, I guess I'm wrong. We all develop that kind of belief to take the blame to save our loved ones in childhood, which may have helped keep us alive, but it no longer serves a purpose. Just like evolutionarily speaking, belief-based cognition might have served a function early before we could think critically, but now that we have cognition, understanding, belief doesn't serve a purpose anymore. It's literally just the cause of our problems and the reason why humans can be the worst in the universe. We treat ourselves as bad as you can treat anyone. Animals don't treat each other this way. Thus, the extreme alert from reality, hey, human beings, you better fucking wake up to the consequence of belief-based thinking, because genocide, starvation, and possible extinction. Wake up, human beings. This whole anything goes, oh, don't question beliefs. Any belief about morality and ethics is right. Right, if I believe that we're the chosen people, I have a right to my religious beliefs. Fuck off. No, because your religious beliefs you act out, you force on your children and justify genocide. You don't need beliefs anymore. We don't allow beliefs in medicine, flying planes, surgery, mechanics. No, only understanding. But I believe that I should do a surgery without washing my hands. We don't care what you believe. We demand understanding, or you can't be a surgeon. Because beliefs are wrong and cause harm. Understanding is right and allows us to benefit. It's just that simple. In the past, the left wing have said, hey, don't judge religions, everyone's entitled to beliefs. Don't judge the right-wingers, don't judge the MAGA, don't judge the Nazis. And you know what's happening? They're building concentration camps in America. They're genociding Palestinians and sending American taxpayers' money to the bombs that genocide Palestinian children. Because the left didn't establish a paradigm of truth and understanding. Just like modern psychology doesn't have a paradigm of truth and understanding. They're borrowing the medical model. The left didn't fix anything. The anything goes is terrible. Because you know what's one of the things that's anything? Fascism. Child abuse. Genociding, starving children to death right now in Palestine. Therefore, we need to establish a true, understandable, universal, beneficial principle and paradigm, a model of excellence. That's philosophical midwifery. The new paradigm for understanding human problems and the new way of being necessary to solve human problems. And also, once free of our problems, the higher aspects of philosophical midwifery based on understanding, now that you're free of the false beliefs about what's good, what's true, what's loving, what's the self, now we can collectively together engage in a love of wisdom, philosophia. Now we can all engage in philosophy. Not Aristotelian opinions and beliefs, like when you go to school and you learn Kant's opinions and Hegel's opinions and Nietzsche's opinions. Nope. That's beliefs, buddy. That's Aristotle. It's not Socrates. Aristotle claimed to speak for Socrates, but messed it up, just like Paul claimed to speak for Jesus, but got it opposite. Modern Christians are Pauline. Paul rejected everything Jesus said and just added his own shit in. Same with Aristotle to Socrates. Is what we've been reading in that book that we read on this channel. Check it out. Socrates and Jesus, a dialogue in heaven. So yeah, good reflections. Narcissism causes a lapse between, oh, they're a narcissist, so we label them and dehumanize them. Here we go. Medical-based, the application of not midwifery, true understanding of human problems through the logos, through understanding, through the dialectic. But the medical model, modern psychology, uses diagnoses of illness like narcissism, which causes a lapse between, oh, they are a narcissist, so we label them and we dehumanize them, without understanding the reason behind it. Yay. That's it. You got it. Well said. The reason. What's the reason? How do you understand reasons? Not belief. No, you just have to believe. No reasoning, you idiot. Understanding. As understanding addresses the reasons, the causes, the principles, the origin. Well said. Which is why we're moving from savages' belief into understanding. What's the reason? Shut up. I'm a MAGA. Just do what Trump says. But what's the reason? What's the reason why Trumps will make grocery prices go down? Oh, you are not American. You have to agree with Daddy. They're literally calling him Daddy, which is just fucking alarm bells should be going off when the Republicans started literally talking about Trump as Daddy. We should be asking, well, why are they doing that? What's the relationship of fascism and belief-based thinking to parental figures? Now, I didn't see anyone asking that question, but we need to. Because that's the doorway into midwifery. Because our allegiance to tyrants, for America, it's people like Trump. For Jewish people, it's people like Netanyahu. For Russians, it's people like Putin. For Germans, it's people like Hitler. We all have them. There is a way of being that resembles the parental tyranny of cultures. So asking that question, why are they calling Trump Daddy? Would be a question that could lead people into discovering philosophical midwifery. I want to understand everyone. Hooray. That's the game. That's the game. Understand everyone. Understand the origin or the reason behind everyone. You said, hey, I want to understand the reason behind problems, but also I want to understand everyone. Is there a reason behind everyone? Is everyone here for a reason? Is there a purpose? Is there a meaning, a value, a meaning, and a significance to every single human life? How could we find that? Not by diagnosing illnesses. Can't find the reason and purpose for the existence of the human being. You can't use the medical model to answer that question. Not belief. I believe everybody is here to love Jesus. No, that's not going to answer the question. How do we find the reason behind everyone? The meaning and purpose, or the destiny of every human being? Which might be necessary to recognize, understand objectively that every single human life has value. Because we're all here for a reason. We're all here for a reason. We will never find it with the medical model. We will never find it with beliefs. What is the name for the kind of human functioning that addresses reasons? You guessed it. Understanding. Understanding the reasons. Including the cause. Where do we come from? But also understanding our purpose. Where are we going after we leave this life if we complete our work here? Socrates talks about that in the Phaedo. So we have read a lot of the Phaedo on this channel, and you can check that out on YouTube if you want to. People believe they are their diagnosis. Yeah. So medical professionals can function like a parent where we have to blindly obey their images, their labels. And people use it to say, hey, because I am this, therefore I can't get better. Yes. That's the pathologos. So we see even the pathologos playing out in people's jobs. Easy to see with religion and government because there is no requirement for understanding. You can believe anything. And if you can manipulate enough people, then you can be the leader of our whole species, which is fucking insane. But yeah, even in medical, yeah, psychologists have pathologos. They also are attracted to playing out their parental roles. Go on YouTube. There are some psychologists on YouTube and even some Twitch streamers sometimes that are psychologists. Look at them. Do they have problems? Absolutely. Are they imitating a model of knowing based on their parents? Oh, yeah. If they're from a different culture than yours, it'll be easier to see. Of course. Because pathologos, false belief, false way of being, that we think is knowing, that we think means to be good, is a human thing. Human thing. Oh, is your psychologist a human? Oh, yep. There you go. Therefore, got a pathologos. Therefore, he should be going through midwifery. And now if he's a psychologist, he should be doing midwifery anyway, because it's the paradigm for understanding and solving human problems. They treat the symptoms. Yeah, exactly. These are the symptoms. Let's not find the cause. That would require understanding. In a new paradigm, midwifery. Some people are very black and white thinking. They let their diagnosis define them and cop out of self-responsibility, self-accountability. I'm this and I can, so obviously I can't get better. Exactly. That's our ceiling. That's why in midwifery, you can't be in the game unless you are seeking your highest goals. Because if that's your ceiling, you can live a mediocre, comfortable, mediocre, safe existence, never challenging the very things you are literally put on this planet to challenge. You can shirk your responsibility. Yeah, if your dad's a racist, you can live your whole life as a racist, so long as you never try and reach higher goals that demand you remove your racist bullshit. You can't be a good person in a higher way without removing your racism. You can be an ICE, Gestapo, Nazi, sure. You can be a Israeli soldier killing Palestinians. Yeah, you can be racist and still murder children in Palestine, sure. But if you want to do anything good or anything with excellence, you can't. Therefore, you're right, that's the limit. And therefore in this game, you have to be seeking your highest personally meaningful goals with excellence to be in this game, because that's what surfaces the blocks to that which we address here. So good insight, sus. That's why I love and hate mental health communities. Exactly. You love them because they're trying to approach understanding and benefit, but it can be difficult because they lack a paradigm. Just like we can say we love the left wing because the right wing is fascists and trying to actively harm everyone because cruelty is the point for them. So we can say I love progressives, but it can be frustrating that they don't have a model of how to solve problems. So that's why people voted for Trump, because the left wing don't have a paradigm. They don't have a way of being. It's like, oh, anything goes, but we try and be good, but oh, we don't really know. Just be nice, never challenge anyone's beliefs, never challenge anyone's ethics or morality, because who's to say what's right and wrong? Not us. Just like when you go in for surgery, the doctor puts on his gloves and says, where should I make this incision? Who's to say where I should make the incision? Everyone, let's take a vote. Should I make an incision above the blockage or below the blockage? Who's to say? And don't challenge anyone's beliefs. There's that crazy man in the waiting room. He believes I should cut the guy's head off. Oh, we can't challenge that. That's just his culture. There's a rich tradition of cutting off people's heads, so I guess I should do it. No! You idiots. We would never ever have something like that. In medicine. So why do we allow such baby-brained, belief-based thinking in like government? So that's the problem with the left. They don't have a paradigm. The paradigm is the logos. That's literally the paradigm of intelligibility. Because it's the intellectual structure behind pure intelligence. It's what makes us intelligent. We've been talking about that in the Jesus and Socrates book. Fantastic book. Check it out. Right. To create the good part of it is they create the space for self-reflection. But just, hey, if you had a bunch of people with no idea about how to fix your car engine, you'd say, oh, and your car breaks down. You've got 4 people in the car with you. Your car breaks down on your way to California. So you pull your car over, you open the hood, and all 5 of you are standing there looking at your engine. Now you could say, well, that's good. It's good that you are taking time. You're not still driving a broken car. You've pulled over to the side of the road and you have time and space for self-reflection on the engine. But if none of you has any understanding of the model or paradigm of how the engine works, are you going to fix it? So we can use that as an analogy for the mental health community. Sure, we can all look at the engine, but without an understanding of the paradigm, we're not going to solve problems. Milton Friedman. Why is your name Milton Friedman, may I ask? A tangent unrelated to what we're talking about, so can move past that. I tend to believe in deep down everyone is good, but their behaviors, beliefs, and thought process is what comes out negatively and makes them unhealthy. Yeah. So you said that, and right below, before you had this guy, Milton Friedman, doing that as an example. Here we are, engaged in the most meaningful reflection that is the responsibility for everyone, but Milton Friedman had some sort of belief that the best way of expressing himself was not to cooperate or become one with us in what we're doing, but to distract from our meaningful goals. We would ask him, hey, Milton, when you were doing what you loved, who came in to try and shit on what you were doing by distractions? Because it might be worth reflecting on why that was your way of showing yourself. So that's the thing with these communities. They give a way of being where you can show yourself. The thing with MAGA, you can show yourself. You can talk about what you're interested in. All you got to do is be super racist. So we need a new paradigm so we can solve problems. So we're all not just standing on the side of the road reflecting on our engine. We can actually fix the engine. But not only do we need a new paradigm, we need a new way of being. So fill it and balloons. Hooray.
Okay, go ahead.
What? Because a way of being, the love of understanding is a way of being of the new age, because it allows us a way through which we can say what's most meaningful to us. We can express ourselves. So Milton came in, he wanted to participate, he's given his time, he has life energy, he has a purpose here on the planet, and he chose to express that puzzle. We're all a puzzle, every person's a puzzle. Chose to express it through tangents, trying to distract from our reflection, a negative functioning. But if you had a new way of being, asking questions, following reason, finding the root causes and principles and reasons for things, then he might have chose to express his life energy in a different way. I tend to believe everyone deep down is good in their behaviors and beliefs, and thought processes come out negatively. So that's a nice starting point. What we need to do in philosophy is nail that down, so it's not just a belief that everyone is good, but an understanding. Because someone could come along and say, like Netanyahu, oh really? Well, I'm Netanyahu. I believe that some people are just evil, Palestinians, and we need to murder them. And you have your beliefs and I have my beliefs. And you know what? I win because I'm able to manipulate more people than you. Understanding it isn't about how many people you can manipulate. If you're standing there at the side of the road looking at your car's engine and you have learned how to manipulate people, but you still don't know how to fix the engine, and there's one guy who does, and you've convinced 3 of the people to agree with you, I know where we should hammer on our engine to fix it, but then the 5th guy is an actual mechanic, who's worth listening to? Now, if the mechanic say, hey, that's just a belief, and I know he's very charismatic, and you want to have a beer with him, but you won't fix the car. I have understanding. So we can show an understanding that all human beings are fundamentally good because the nature of the self is, by definition, the one self or the good self. And we can demonstrate that through philosophy, through understanding, through reason. We can also demonstrate, hey, even tyrants, are they doing what they believe to be most good? Therefore, like you wouldn't want to eat a bad sandwich, you would choose a good sandwich. Everyone. The only people who would choose to eat a bad sandwich would be people who believe it's going to be good for them because the bad sandwich is actually healthier for them. Or maybe they've eaten something and they need to throw up and say, oh, give me some of that rotten sandwich so I can vomit up that poison I just ate. In other words, by definition, by understanding, by reasoned reflection that everyone can see, all human beings seek what they believe to be the good. The problem is, beliefs are not true. They are from others. In childhood. That's why Christian babies have Christian parents, whereas Muslim babies have Muslim parents. That's not a strange coincidence. It's because it's learnt through imitation of others, not understanding. You don't go to school and become Christian. Now, Trump's trying to fix that and change it by lying to people and defunding the educational system and telling all of his fanatical belief-based thinkers that, understanding is the devil. We should only be going to school to learn about Jesus, because he's not Christian, but he knows that belief-based thinkers like Christians can be manipulated. So his base is the religious thinkers that he manipulates to get them to act harmfully against their own interests. That's not a belief, that's exactly what he's doing. So yeah, we're all seeking the good and we're all of nature good, but that doesn't really matter unless we can nail it down with understanding. Not just understanding, but have a way of being that we can create the conditions for all people to understand it. Which includes, hey, how do people relate to understanding? Well, some people reject understanding. Talk to a MAGA about Trump's crimes. Oh no, I reject your understanding. That's fake news. I'm more loyal to Donald Trump. Yeah, Nazis, that's how Nazis think. So we also have to have a way of being that encourages reflections on beliefs, so our beliefs don't get in the way of our cognitive development into understanding. Understanding of ourselves, understanding of the paradigm of understanding, and understanding of a way of being that allows us to treat each other well, the new way of being of the new age. I tend to like words like unhealthy, healthy, or negative, positive. I think that's my background, because good and bad seem like labels that hurts ego. You're bad. Right, you're right, yeah. So that's, yeah. So, that makes sense. You're bad is not, no. That functioning might be bad because it doesn't reach your good and what's good benefits. So you may be harmful. But yeah, that's bullying and intimidation to say, oh, that bad action is because you're bad. That implies that evil thing. Your nature is bad. Which is pathologos. False belief. Psychology lacks a model, it's still growing. Well, that's what this is. Philosophical midwifery is the new thing. So we have to jump. Make the leap into understanding human problems as cognitive. Not behavioral, not emotive, cognitive. So cognitive behavioral, Cognitive emotive behavioral therapy. Get rid of the emotive, get rid of the behavioral, cognitive. Some diagnoses provide people with comfort. Yeah, that's the thing with beliefs. If it's just a belief, then you will believe what you already believe with. If you don't believe it, you'll shop around for a new preacher, or a new guru, or a new podcast, or a new shrink. That's the thing with beliefs. It's false. It's belief based on what we're familiar with. Most therapies overlap midwifery in the context. Well, yeah, so if there is any benefit in any of the other models, it would be that they happen to have some aspect of this. For example, self-reflection. Carl Rogers realized, interesting. If we provide safe space for self-reflection, there seems to be a benefit. Maybe I'll make person-centered counseling and make that my whole thing. That's not anything. I mean, sure, but that's like, a mechanic has to reflect on your engine to do his job, but you can't make that a modality of psychology. Oh, look, confetti. That's just one of the aspects within the paradigm. Like, you don't go to a engine focused or engine centered mechanic, where all the mechanics look at your engine and go, what do you think is wrong with the engine? Hey, no judgments here, no blame game here. What do you think of the engine? I don't know. Fix it? No, but what do you feel about the engine? I feel like you should fix my engine? Your feelings are valid. Thank you. Now fix the engine, please. Oh, and that's your session. It's up. Okay, see you next week. Well, how am I going to get home? My car's broken. That's modern psychology. They might lift bits and pieces. Like, yeah, if the mechanics didn't have that, if you couldn't say, well, I feel like there's something wrong with my engine, then they couldn't then go on to apply understanding. So yes, self-reflection and removing any blame game. Oh, you're a bad person for having a broken engine. You should feel bad and you might go to hell, like Netanyahu and Trump tell me. No, you need that first step where you don't have that, but you also need the model. That's philosophical midwifery. That's why it's our responsibility, because we're all human beings. We all are ourselves cars with engines, but our engine is the soul. So we're all here to become master mechanics or midwives. Right, yes, and they can get very particular within their diagnosis. You're a type 1 and you're a type 2, and yep. Borderline personality disorder, disorder transference refers to the unconscious reflection of feelings and expectations from significant past relationships onto the therapist during therapy. Right, so that's one of the aspects we saw in the model. We could pull it up. Let me bring it up. So this idea of, hey, if you've got a problem, and as we learn in the paradigm midwifery, your problems manifest when you're doing things that are important. If you consider midwifery important, then it will come up in midwifery at some stage. So that could be a block, but if you have been, if you are developing a mature understanding of the process you're going through, it can actually be a boon. Because you can say, hey, it's happening right now. We can look at it and gain further insights into the puzzle you're here to solve as a human being. So I think this starts in D and also K. Let's have a quick look at that. So here is the 12 stages, the paradigm. This is the new paradigm. We've been looking at it a lot. Chapter 4 of the book. The 12 stages within the dialectic of the new paradigm. Everybody's responsibility to play. And the 4th stage, D, sorry. They are encouraged to explore any difficulty that turns them away from their goal, making their failure inevitable. The difficulty is often the effect of the presence of negative thoughts, feelings, inappropriate actions. After subjects are somewhat familiar with midwifery, after you've realized that, hey, you know, this is not just a one-off thing, it's the most important thing we can do here, also as a way of being, they can be led to reflect on the differences between the statement they gave at the beginning, this is what I believe is my problem, and the description of the difficulties that have actually turned them away from their goal. As subjects understand that problems are intelligible. Cognitive, not emotive behavioral, just cognitive. Problems are solvable, understandable. Then they can appreciate the difference as another manifestation of the problem. In other words, when you come into midwifery, the first question is, well, what's the problem you've got? And then after going through A, B, C, when they get to D and they realize the problem is not what they thought it was, it's actually this new thing. This is universal. You will get it wrong. So any idea of you're bad because you got it wrong, or you're a sinner because you got it wrong, or you're an evil person because you got it wrong, any idea of punishment, out the fucking door. Not here, not ever. Punishment is baby brain caveman bullshit. Because you will get it wrong. So what are we going to do? Punish everyone? Blow up the world? Put everyone in prison? That's where we're going. Trump isn't just making one concentration camp, he's making many concentration camps. The prison industrial complex isn't just a small business that people profit on, it's one of the biggest and fastest growing businesses. Yes, unless we wake up to this new way of being, we're going to kill everyone. And bring in the extinction of another species, just another species who've gone extinct like many others. And we can show this because everyone doing the most important human activity, midwifery, not the most important activity for LeBron James or the most important activity for, I don't know, Socrates or your dad, everyone, if you're a human being, This is first on the agenda. And everyone begins by making a statement about what they believe has made people and individuals who enter into dialectic begin the process of inquiry by stating why they believe they have been unable to reach their goals. Why do you believe you have a problem? Notice, belief. It's not understanding yet. You haven't gone through the process of developing understanding. What causes human problems? Beliefs. Therefore, is your belief going to be accurate? No, of course not. Is that where you start? Absolutely, it's where you start. Will you be wrong? Absolutely. Is that a bad thing? No, it's a fantastic thing. Because as you go through the process of reflection, when you start to understand what is causing your problems, you can then, part B, reflect on your first statement and see the difference between what you believe is happening and what's really happening is another reflection of the puzzle you're here to solve, which can open you up to new insights and quicker learning. You can move quickly. Move fast like a thief if you want to. So while we say philosophical midwifery is a way of being, it's a relationship, it's for everyone, you don't have to move at a slow pace. People who really, really want to do well, or really, really want to reach their goals, or really, really want to remove their problems, or really, really want to spend their life completing their evolution in the physical dimension, so to escape from the chains of problems and fate, but also escape from the prison of reincarnation, they can go quick. You can do dream analysis every morning, especially if you have friends or a partner or a loved one who's also in this game. You can move quick. They're the most fun people to talk to. The people who are moving slowly, they are the bullies and the narcissists. Not narcissists, you know what I mean. They're the rubbish people to relate to. People who love understanding, woof, you've got a winner on your hands. Because here's an example. And then also in K, we have another example, which is the second last stage, or maybe third last if there's another stage. So when you've reached a high level of understanding through this process of midwifery, a new level of exploration occurs when the connections between problems are sought, their interlocking effects are made visible. So all of the different problems, you can start to see how it's all a manifestation of a single idea and can be traced back to significant people in one's life. So if you have to be believing someone, and by the way, if some like 5-year-old with a lollipop stuck up his nose said, "I believe you're an alien," you wouldn't have an existential crisis because you don't believe that kid to be knowledgeable or wise. Just some dumb kid. Therefore, you have to believe the person is knowing. That's why our parents put on a big act of being king priest. They set up the scam. It's a big scam. It's a big charade. Everyone born in a family will have their parental figures or parental surrogates create this charade so they can finally be the knower they've been seeking their whole life. Not the true knower that requires this new way of being called midwifery. No. The imitation of the same injustice they suffered from childhood. They want to sit in daddy's chair. So it has to be a significant person. When we're too young to question and know, oh, that's just dad's bullshit. That's just mum's way of crapping on again. When we start to get angry at them, then you can't get a new path of logos because you're starting to see through the bullshit. So this is the final stage. So of the 4 categories in midwifery, this is the last one. So it's quite advanced. So the talks now become a reflection to see the interconnections between all problems, the interlocking effects, and you can trace it back to its origin, to significant people in one's life. For the dynamics of a personal problem become visible when the problem is seen as not only necessarily occurring when it does. So whenever you get into this level of excellence, whenever you're around a person you consider to be beautiful, when you're getting close to success in a meaningful goal, it will necessarily come up. I received 100 messages today. Hooray. I'm a bit behind in the messages. So you have to excuse me. I take a while to read through them. I don't get a lot of messages, but hopefully it's going to turn around, because I'm going to get 100,000 followers from Asmon Gold and 100,000 followers from Hassan Piker to become the most popular Twitch streamer. And I believe it to be so. And if everything is a matter of belief, then it will happen. Positive thinking. That's a joke, of course. And you can tell because everyone loves it. So you see that your problem necessarily occurs when it does, but having a force that shapes the dialogue session itself. For the problem must also play itself out to some degree in the presence of the philosophical midwifery when philosophical midwifery itself is perceived as a meaningful goal. So that's what Sus was saying here. Your problem will even play out in the presence of in midwifery if A, you consider the midwife to be significant, because that's when problems come, or B, you consider the activity of midwifery significant. But again, not a thing to be ashamed about, or to punish people for, or to genocide the children for. It's a normal human thing, and it's a stage in the most important activity. So no punishment, no blame, no shame, none of that bullshit. That's caveman belief-based thinking. The dialectic and understanding paradigm, we're still working at the kinks. Because axioms. Ooh, axioms. Hooray for axioms. Axioms, a class of belief that are self-evident evident principles. So if you're still thinking in terms of the physical world, like science or physical science, materialism, then you have to start asking a question. Hang on a second. What are the fundamental principles behind the physical world? I like math, but can we prove with math that 1 + 1 = 2? I mean, we have to take it for granted to play the game. That's an axiom. That's right, you can't prove 1 and 1 is 2. But it seems true, we intuitively feel like it's true, but you can't prove it. It's the highest class of belief, because it's necessary to do scientific belief, to do math. Now, pathologos is a shadow of that. You can't prove that you suck. You can't prove that you can't understand. You can't prove that you can't know the full nature of God and mind and reality and the brilliant light of pure being. You can't prove that yet while you're in the level of belief. Because knowledge isn't a belief. It's beyond belief. It's a different cognitive function. It's a different use of your way of grasping reality. It's not belief-based, which is through senses and through imitating others and through believing other people. No, it's not a group thing. So what? So you have to take it as an axiom, as a self-evident proof you can't yet believe that problems are solvable, the nature of reality is knowable, so wisdom exists. There is a realm of being, the cause for our physical world of becoming, and beyond that there is a self. You are a self. And if the self can experience knowledge, therefore knowledge or pure being or reality as truth, or in the symposium, beauty itself, if that's the highest experience, the thing experiencing it has to be even prior. that kind of makes sense, kind of feel it to be true, but you can't play the game unless you take that as an axiom. You can't go, if you think no one can ever learn to understand an engine, engines are magical. How do magnets even work? It's just magic and heaven and Jesus. Then you can't become a mechanic. You have to be open to the possibility that engines can be understood and you are capable of understanding it. You don't know it yet because you're not a mechanic. You're just beginning. That's an axiom. Well, it's a metaphor to explain what an axiom is really. Therefore, in this new way of being, there are certain self-evident principles that you do not yet grasp, like this. Like, we know that understanding is better than belief. You understand your toaster. But because we have not yet evolved into that, we still have human problems. We kind of are told from a young age to just let everyone believe anything. Let those religious people abuse women. Let those religious people genocide those people, etc., etc. Let conservatism exist when it's just objectively bad and wrong and harmful. Everyone's vote matters. Really? In surgery? I mean, everyone's needs and feelings and values and value as a living being matters, but does that mean that they are an expert and should be in charge? It's because they believe it to be so? So that's where we start. We start with the beliefs without the understanding. But to play the game, you have to take as axiomatic certain fundamental principles that we can change, we can be better, and it's worth trying. Yeah, we still have Nazis. Yeah, we still have extreme wealth inequality that we all know is the cause of human suffering. Like 90% of human suffering is simply wealth inequality. Then why do we say, you can be rich? Pull yourselves up from your bootstraps. Our conversation should be, we can be equal. Rich doesn't mean having a lot, it means having more than others. You can't have billionaires and millionaires without also having slaves and poverty. The conversation needs to flip from how do we become rich to how do we become equal. Wealth equality. Now this is understood, we know this. Empirically, we've studied this and it's very obvious. Clearly, what do you do with the $1 billion? What are they doing with it now? Oh, they're buying all the houses, so now no one has a place to live. What else are you going to do with billions of dollars? You got to buy everything, right? Of course, including politicians. They can be bought. Obviously, it's not rocket science. You have billions of dollars. It's not worth anything sitting in a bank. It's only worth it if you can use it to do stuff. What do you do with money? You buy stuff. What can you buy with $1 billion? Everything. And don't you want to keep your stuff? Yeah, that's why billionaires buy security guards and live in gated communities. How else do you protect your ability to buy everything? You buy the laws. Is that why a lot of the American politicians are supporting genocide of children in Palestine? Yeah. They're funded by billionaires in the Zionists. It's not a surprise. It's not a big mystery that billionaires buy the politicians and make the laws that create extreme wealth inequality because they think that they're going to benefit in the short term at the expense of the entire species and their soul, which they haven't bothered to reflect on. Not a surprise. Everyone knows that. So what's the issue? We haven't established the difference between belief and understanding as the cause of problems and solidified it as a paradigm and a way of being. Therefore, that's our job. That's philosophical midwifery. That's our job. It's the hero's journey. So a hero in a movie might save the dance hall from being taken over by a billionaire for profit so the kids can dance. Sure, that's a movie. But what we're learning here is, and all movies are like that, there's some villain doing injustice because he's a billionaire or something, or can manipulate beliefs of other people in other ways. He's a cult leader or a politician or some manipulation of people through belief-based thinking to cause harm. And then the hero turns it around, has to develop some sort of understanding, some sort of new skill on the hero's journey to save the rec center or something like that. To save the pollution of the ocean. To save Voldemort taking over Hogwarts or whatever that was. I haven't seen the movies yet. But what we are doing here is the paradigm, because we're not just solving one problem, we're solving all problems. The real hero's journey is to learn the skill or art, not to solve one problem, vanquish Voldemort with magic, but to solve all human problems. Not just saving one rec center from billionaire, not just freeing one group of children forced into slave labor by billionaires and fascists, capitalists, but all children, everywhere, always, for all time. So if you look at one of the fascist propaganda networks directed at children, which is really, really sick and disgusting, called PragerU. They have comics, little cartoons. And I saw one yesterday where they're saying, actually, slavery is good. Because those Africans we took as slaves, as white imperialist American fascists, well, they live a better life with us in America. So it's good that we have black people as slaves. But also, it's a different time. So it's wrong to apply objective standards of morality to yesterday. It's okay that I beat up my kid yesterday because times have changed now. Now children don't like being beaten up. But yesterday, they did. Yesterday, the slaves liked being slaves. Bullshit. Bull fucking shit. Get the fuck out of here with this bullshit. Why? Because principles are universal. That's what makes them a principle. So the objective standards for how to fix an engine will always fix an engine. I don't care if it's yesterday's engine or tomorrow's engine, or an engine in France or an engine in Germany. It doesn't matter. The laws of physics still apply. Because they always will apply. Because they're principles. So it's upon principles that have an eternal existence throughout time. That's the realm of being. Being is outside of time. Time and space is the realm of becoming. That's what we see through our physical senses. But to experience the realm of being, we awaken the other sense, ousia. That's the sense that can know reality as eternity or wisdom. And it's the study of that where we get principles. That's philosophy. That's what Socrates was saying every day. We're not taught that in school because we don't listen to Socrates, we listen to Aristotle. But the idea is these principles are true and universal for everyone, for all time. Therefore, the hero's journey is to learn the principle of solving problems so that all children won't be slaves, not just tomorrow or yesterday, but for all time. We will never ever have a problem of slavery of children or genocide of children ever again, because we've established as a principle using a paradigm called understanding or dianoia or the logos, that it's bad, it's harmful, it's against our purpose here, it's not what we're here for, it causes harm and suffering, it prevents learning, it's not balanced or equal, it's unjust as a principle. The only way of establishing the archetypal principles that are eternal and true, the paradigm, is philosophical midwifery. That is the new paradigm. It is the new way of being. It's the archetype or principle of the hero's journey. Not just saving one rec center, saving all rec centers. Not just saving yesterday's BP oil spill, but no more oil spills ever. Not just shutting down the 3 concentration camps that Donald Trump set up, but shutting down all concentration camps for our species forever. And if we're able to travel through space to interact with other species, it would be pretty shit if we came over there with the belief that, oh, some concentration camps are good. You aliens, maybe you should have those aliens as slave to those aliens, and you should have concentration camps where people who are really ignorant because they're belief-based thinkers, yeah, they can say, well, my belief is that the green aliens are good aliens and the red aliens are bad aliens. So the green aliens can put the red aliens into concentration camps, just like ICE, just like the Jews in Israel, or just like the Nazis in Germany. Yeah, that's good. Sometimes, but sometimes it's a different time. And then maybe tomorrow you can realize that genocide is bad or concentration camps is bad. If we did that as an ambassador to other galaxies or other races, it would be a terrible, terrible thing. But that's important to think about, because if we can possibly learn a new way of being, philosophical midwifery, based on a love of understanding, philodianoia, to establish the paradigm of how to solve problems, the logos, and the methodology for how everyone can learn to do it, the dialectic, and recognize that human problems are understandable as a movement from belief-based thinking to understanding, then not only can we overcome our mass suffering on this planet, collectively and individually for every person, we can ask the question, once we live in this utopia, what next? What next? Once we've realized the meaning of life, what do we want to do with that? Similar to this channel. Hey, people in this channel who've been following along, they've discovered the meaning of life. And it's obvious, of course. We're here to figure out how to solve problems and reach our highest excellence. Of course. What else would we be here to do? Keep problems and have mediocrity? That makes no sense. And if the way of doing both is the same thing, philodianoia, dialectic, midwifery, then obviously the purpose and meaning for everyone here is to master midwifery. Considering all human beings get beliefs, so we all have to learn it. Therefore, objectively speaking, the meaning of life is simply philodianoia. Hooray! We know the meaning of life. But then we will have a reaction to that. Oh, surely I can't know the meaning of life. I'm just a small bean. I'm just a little boy. I can't know the meaning of life. My daddy told me nobody knows the meaning of life. And my mummy told me the meaning of life is to praise Jeebus. And my professor said that, scientists can never know the meaning of life, so shut up. And they can't all be wrong. They can't all be human beings with problems and ignorance like me. Oh, yes, they fucking are. Who else said the meaning of life? Parmenides, Diotima, a lady, Socrates, Pierre Grimes. It's been spelled out for a long, long time. The problem isn't that we don't know the meaning of life, it's that we don't fucking listen. Because of the impact of belief. We can simply reason through the meaning of life, not solving one rec center, solving all rec centers. Makes sense, right? Oh, no, not all, just a few. Yes, the meaning of life is only saving a few rec centers, not all rec centers. No, of course not, because then you could just add more rec centers. I can think of a better meaning of life. All rec centers. And now I can think of something even better. Solving all problems. Ah, there you go. The issue isn't that we don't know the meaning of life, it's the issue is we don't believe it because we still think in terms of belief. Mummy and Daddy didn't think that way. That means that they're not big, strong knowers. They were wrong.
This guy had to admit that the people in his life who helped convince him to be a conservative in the first place, parents, clergy, other authority figures, were wrong. Not only was wrong, but lied to him, and that he fell for it. All of that takes so much courage and character.
That's the issue. Not just finding the meaning of life, it's having the courage and character to realize you've been lied to by all these people you think are wise and good and beautiful and caring and loving, but weren't. Because newsflash, they were also humans. Therefore, they also have pathologos, because the meaning of life for all humans is the same. That's why it's the meaning of all life, or the destiny of all men. That's also why we are reading Socrates and Jesus, A Dialogue in Heaven, because they are seeking to find what are all of the possible reactions to finding the truth of the meaning of life. Some people, like Paul, will reject all of what's rational and claim to speak for God better. Like Paul rejected all of Jesus' teachings and created the idea of church and belief and believing him and the end of the world and Jesus coming back to judge people. All that shit that we take as modern Christianity is Paul, who rejected everything Jesus said and just made up his own bullshit. That's one way of responding to the truth. That's the meaning of life? No, what I think the meaning of life is this other thing that's the opposite. Learning to manipulate people to get rich. Get rich and die trying. Dollar bills, yo. It's one response to truth. Another response is to, pretend that you speak for the truth, but actually you're a wolf in sheep's clothing. Oh, yes. It's all about philosophical midwifery. But we should start a group where I'm the leader and everyone has to believe me. No, that's... Another way is to take a little bit of the rational and cobble it together with some of your beliefs. Yes, I think moving from belief-based thinking to understanding is the meaning of life. Sure. But actually, we can do that within my religion, because my religion is still good. My belief-based system is still good. Others, sure. They're the silly ones, but we are the rational religion, cobbling it together. Of course, the best one is to just be rational and remove or let go of or see through your false beliefs, but not everyone can be like that yet. So that's the significance of the other book that we're reading on the channel, that we're going to be reading today probably as well, later on today. Socrates and Jesus, A Dialogue in Heaven. What are all of the different human responses to this truth, meaning of life, rationality, solving problems, so that we can anticipate how humans will react, so we can share it, tell people about it, help our friends and loved ones, make a better world, prevent human extinction, be a force of light and goodness in the world. And also hopefully keep our head on our shoulders, because challenge people's belief, some people can get murderous. Like the Zionist Israelis and Americans. Like the KKK, like the ICE, like the MAGA, like the Nazis, like the Putins. Yeah, I'll just throw you out a window. We don't want to do that because we need these people. We can't just kill all the good people, because who's going to fucking help us? And by the way, the reason why we're not able to understand philosophy at school is because we killed Socrates. So fortunately, we've been able to rediscover what he was doing. And that includes midwifery, the new way of being. And if we can ourselves make that movement through the art of philosophical midwifery, learn how to facilitate our loved ones and friends by being a midwife ourselves, but also read this Jesus and Socrates, A Dialogue in Heaven book to recognize all of the different reactions to truth, so that we can recognize even those reactions are stages of development, right? The stupidest people are like, oh, I don't like thinking, or you're one of those head brain thinkers, you read books, or oh, I wish I was in ice, then I could beat you up for reading books and having fun. Oh, I don't like fun. Yes, that's the worst kind of person, but that's still a version of humanity. It's a reflection of reality. It's a reflection of mind going through the cognitive stages of development. If we want to help people, we have to help people evolve and learn and grow. That's one reaction. So that's why this book, Dialogue in Heaven, is so fucking awesome. And we're going to be reading that later. But the next stage is, okay, let's say we do it. Let's say enough people, let's say we all write an email to Joseph Twitch, the head of Twitch, and say, look, objectively speaking, and we can make the rational arguments why the Awakening Philosophy Twitch channel is better than Hassan Piker's channel and better than Asmongold's channel. Therefore, you should make their 100,000 followers and his 100,000 followers, all make them watch this channel, so we can all learn the new way of being, philosophical midwifery, the purpose of everyone, the responsibility of everyone, move from belief-based thinking to understanding, evolution, learn it as an art so we can be a force of good in the world. Therefore, have a way of being and a paradigm that actually fucking solves human problems for once.
No one seems to be learning or growing or addressing actual problems.
And we're also reading the Jesus and Socrates book, so not only can we do this, anyone who's opposed to it, we can help them find out why they're opposed to what they are here for. Why are you opposed to what helps you? Why are you attacking what brings you benefit? Why are you still voting for Trump if he's taking away all your money and making everything more expensive and killing people? Why are you acting against your own benefit? So that's the good thing about that book. After we have enough people doing that, and we live in a rational, unified, fantastic, utopian world, we can ask, what next? What next? Where do we go with this insight? Where do we go with this art? In two ways. If you've completed your journey here and mastered this art as a soul living in your lifetime, what's your next incarnation going to be like? You're going to come back again? Why? Then where are you going to go? What next for you as a soul? And also as a species, what next for humanity? After we have this collective way, which is objectively fun.
Where's the joy? Where's the whimsy? Where's the childlike wonder, dude?
We live in a utopia, to you borrow that word. Just a rational, harmonious, wonderful way of life. Solving problems, seeing all problems as puzzles. All problems are just potentials for new insight. What do? We might want to share it with other evolving species, dogs, and some like birds and stuff. They're talking now. They're using iPads now. They've got their talking buttons, and even cats sometimes. But beyond our galaxy, beyond our species, might we want to become an ambassador in the galaxies and the universe? If we have gone through the difficulty, the fucking worst any animal can be to other animals. No other animals treats each other as bad as human beings do. But if we can get through it, then we've gone from the absolute bottom to the best. What better guide for other species on other planets in other worlds than someone who's been through the whole fucking thing? What better midwife? Therefore, we can wonder about what next for our species. Clearly, we don't want to go to an alien planet and say, oh, the green aliens should have all the money and the red aliens should starve. The green aliens, their kids can enjoy life and have nice lunches every single day. And the red aliens, those children have to work in diamond mines. So the red aliens can have fun, or the green aliens. Oh, the green aliens should have a leader that looks like Donald Trump or Putin or Netanyahu or Hitler. And the red aliens should be put in concentration camps so the green aliens can feel big and strong, like their daddies. No, that would make no fucking sense. It makes no sense if we apply it to anyone else, then why are we accepting it here? Therefore, to be an ambassador, we can't take belief-based thinking with us. We can't take inequality with us. We can't take anything other than a way of being that sees all living beings as the same. Self.
Wow.
That is evolving through the same universal intelligence called mind.
Wow.
Here to develop the thing that you can only develop here, understanding.
Wow.
Which involves understanding an art that you can function through to benefit called dialectic.
Wow.
That can be applied to benefit any species at any time in any space in the cognitive movement from belief-based thinking to understanding-based thinking.
Wow.
Therefore, we're all the same self, reflecting various different aspects of mind, going through our development of philodianoia, the love of understanding. In that way, we're all the same, fundamentally. But the pathologos fundamentally says that your self is not good enough, your mind is not good enough or bad, or understanding isn't good enough, just believe. Every human being gets a belief that they think is more real than anything in the universe, even people who've had enlightenment experiences. Their belief is stronger. The most powerful force in the physical universe is a unjust rejection of self, mind, and understanding. And every human being gets it. It's the cause of suffering and problems. All of us. But the end of the game is realizing that, hey, we're all the same self, the same mind, and the same understanding. Everyone can share in. That's what unifies us. That's the new way of being. Therefore, as a species, by definition, we get the absolute worst thing, the most powerful force on the universe, which is the rejection of those three things. But if we learn the art of philodianoia, we can go to the absolute best, unify our soul, complete our work here, but also unify our species. And it's that we can use and ask the question, hey, what next? What next for our soul? But what next for our species? Can we share that understanding with other species? Hey, your aliens are fighting each other. Well, you're all the same self, you're all the same mind, and you're all here to develop understanding, which you can all have the same. So, we can help you. And the aliens might say, what? How can you help me? Oh, we'll tell you how we can help you. We had it the worst. Humanity is the absolute worst fucking species in the galaxy, in the universe, but with the potential to be the best. Think about it. Think about who is the worst tyrants. To be a tyrant, you need confidence and you need to be persuasive and you need spirit or something. These are good qualities. Think about the people who are most fascist, most racist, most sexist. They are the best students to the worst teachers. So the worst people, like Achilles in the Iliad, can become the best person. That's literally the entire story of Homer's Iliad. Achilles is the worst person who becomes the best person. That's true for everyone. That's true for our species. And that's going to be our pitch to alien species. We can help you because we have this art, the dialectic, and a way of being, philodianoia. And they'll say, well, I mean, maybe you can help other galaxies and other races and other aliens, but why us? Oh, I'll tell you why. We have gone through the whole thing. The 10th hypothesis of Parmenides to the first. The most belief-based thinking to the greatest excellence of understanding-based thinking. Being a slave, a zombie-like slave to the biggest, most powerful, most negative force in the physical world, the pathologos, to wisdom. Dianoia. We've gone from the worst to the best. We've gone from the worst species in the galaxy to the best. We have gone through all of it. Experiencing what it's like to be in all of it, experiencing what it's like to go through a genocide in real time right now, experiencing what it's like to see the irrationality of capitalism playing out to the fact that no one can afford housing and food and the billionaires fucking laugh and no one does anything about it. Yeah, we've felt it all. We've also understood it all necessarily to solve our problems and develop this new way of being. So we are the best ambassadors. If you were an alien species and you wanted some sort of advisor or leader or guide, wouldn't you want someone who's gone through all of it, seen it all, understood it all, and moved through all of it? So those are the things we can wonder about together when we ask the question, what next? And maybe that question and those images and that reflection can inspire us to jump into the game. Our responsibility, our universal quest, the highest quest, the true hero's journey. Because
you're a wizard, Harry.
You are a wizard, Harry. And we're all wizards, Harrys. And this is the game. Philosophical midwifery and the love of understanding. I'm just going to give a real quick overview for my new chatter here. So what we've been talking about today is the significance of moving from... Where's my pen? It's on the wrong screen. Over here. Here we go. Oh, my pen's not working. Damn. All right. I have to be super quick. So belief to understanding. Normally I have a working pen. I'm just using my mouse. We can understand how to remove our problems caused by belief. That's philosophical midwifery. That's what this book thing was going to be about, but today was more of a reflection. You can, when you're free of your problems, you can then ask the question, what next? Now that I've removed my false beliefs and images about love, truth, beauty, self, and reality, what's the truth about reality? What's the highest aspect of mine? What's the purpose of life? Now that I'm free of all the bullshit, what's going on? That's philosophy. Socrates' philosophy, not Aristotle. By the way, that can be difficult. We better have a guide to both. Your personal guide, your spiritual guru to both is your dreams. So therefore, if we can understand how to translate the language of our dreams, that's dream analysis. And the final thing, hey, once you have all that, maybe you want to share it with others, or what next as a way of being that you can practice, but also benefit everyone else and be a light, shining light of goodness and benefit in the world, that's called mythology. Can you tell stories about it? So all of these fantastic thoughts and reflections that you've been sharing in the chat, you can learn how to organize them according to all of these things follow the same structure. The structure is called the dialectic. The dialectic is the structure of the logos. The logos is the inherent order and rationality of reality. Dialectic. The dialectic is the method of, or the structure of, or the new paradigm of understanding with a capital U. And we use the word dianoia because we're fancy. Dianoia is the Greek word for understanding. So as you gain insights, as you perfect your art of the dialectic, you'll be able to structure and organize them with this dialectic, and maybe even create a story. Take all of the characters of your dialectic, give them a character. Instead of beauty, talk about Aphrodite. Or instead of understanding, Superman. Instead of whole and part. Or so let's say you have an insight of how justice relates to beauty. You could tell a story about how Spider-Man relates to Wonder Woman, that kind of thing. So that's this. Sharing your insights in dialectics that we can all reason through. The dialectic has 4 parts. Real quick. We won't go into it today, but that's the dialectic. 4 ways of exploring a topic. And that's where we're heading. And then you can share it and join the Discord and share your dialectics. And also make a little myth about it. Make a little story. And share that so we can all benefit from your insights and your works. But remember, if it's a dialectic, then we can all follow the stages together and understand. If it's just a belief, well, I believe that Jesus is in my heart. Well, we either already think that and we're not getting anything new, or we don't think that and we're going to reject it. But understanding is for everyone. Understanding is that new way of being that can unify our soul, our relationships, love based on understanding, and our entire species. Glad to have you as a player in the game, the noblest game. And if you're watching this on YouTube or on my Twitch VOD, then feel free to like and subscribe on YouTube, follow along on Twitch, join the Discord, link below. You'll get a notification when we go live. Thanks again. I didn't get through all the chats, but I've run out of time. You can donate to the channel as well. There's a link below if you want to. And the text should have a link below as well. I haven't found a PDF online for midwifery, but you can find the book online if you want to find that. But the other text, you can find a link to see it for free. And I will see you in the next one. Thanks so much for joining. And that button never works when I press it now. And I press it again. And why is it not doing its job? Okay, I'm going to have to figure out why. There we go. See you in the next one.